Benjivar. I am here in this protest in San Francisco to send a message to the Postmaster General that the American people, the people of this community and across the country, we are in support of a good contract, good jobs, and good service.
And what's happening with privatization? Do you see that as a threat?
Privatization is a threat right now. It's actually a major threat for the retail window. Whatever it is that is doing at the post offices, they're doing it at Staples stores. Pretty much is to cost analysis, and eventually they wanted to privatize the entire window operation, and it's really a threat to the American people.
And how would it hurt consumers in the post office?
In the end, privatization will end up paying more. Right now, it's very affordable to send a postcard from San Francisco to the East Coast. If that becomes privatization, it could be a lot higher than that.
Cutting does not work. It just hurts everybody, the workers, the people who need their postal service, and on and on. Part of the problem is the Board of Governors of the Postal Service. They are all from the large mailers council, and their main interest is preserving their 17 cents a first-class letter rate while the rest of us pay 49 cents. And we need to have a Board of Governors reorganized so it represents somebody from the unions, or more than the different unions, more than one person from the unions, some people from the small businesses, but mostly people who just want to get their mail. And so thank you for all for being here, and we're going to have our next speaker, which is going to be Alan Fisher from the American Federation of Teachers 2121, a City College.
Okay, I bring everybody greetings from City College of San Francisco. Woo! Together with the postal workers in the same fight, and in experiencing a manufactured financial crisis, just like the postal workers are. In the case of the postal workers being demanded to pay, you know, millions and millions of dollars in the future for retiree benefits, they are demanding the same thing from City College. City College experienced a $55 million cut in funding, and then the accreditation team turns around and blames City College for financial instability. So what I'm saying is that the postal workers and education workers are being hit. This is a way to attack us, to drive our wages down, to try to de-unionize our workers. And we gotta support each other in this fight. We know it's a corporate agenda, to privatize public services and privatize as much as they can because they believe that's the way to increase profits. And we need to protect the working people of this country. We need to gather together and fight. And also, we need to pay attention to the fact that this country now has a very militarized economy, and it's time for our country, the United States, to stop having bases all around the world, over 1,000 bases, and it's time to convert you know, the militarized economy into an economy of good jobs for working people, to increase the services for the public, for people who don't want to wait in line an hour to get their postal needs served, just like we at City College do. We're trying so hard to satisfy the needs of our students, but you know, the people in power have got to bring us the resources. We all need resources to carry out our mission of serving the public, right? Yeah.
Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! He's not for sale!
My name's Richard.
Why are you here today?
I'm here to support my family, who's a postal service. So, yeah, I'm just here to show my support with my family.
And what are the issues concerned you about what's happening with postal workers?
Well, it seems I'm not exactly 100% familiar with all the issues, but from my basic knowledge, the contract is due, and usually it's always a power struggle when contracts are due, where usually the company wants to give less and the workers want to get more, and it's always a balance trying to find that compromise.
Sisters and brothers, It's wonderful to be out here today again, letting the post office know and letting the public know what a valuable service the postal workers perform and how vital they are. We are, because I'm a retired letter carrier, to this country and to the people of this country. We need it. And we need the living wage jobs that the post office provides. And we need a good contract, which they're negotiating right now. And I want to say that there's been a good development in that there's a tremendous movement to support a higher minimum wage for the people working in restaurants and the people working in big box stores and Walmart and all that. But let me say this. It's a welcome development that the APWU leadership has started to embrace this struggle. That's a very welcome development. But let them not forget the people who are already unionized. We got to stop them from going down and down and down, because that's the objective, is to bust these unions. And the basis for organizing the unorganized, the basis for it are the people who are already organized. We're the basis for it. We provide the dues to the unions, which can help to fund the organizing of all these people that don't have a union, that don't have a living wage, that have to scrape together 2 or 3 jobs just to support their families, or have no job at all, or live on the street. I mean, this is outrageous. Another thing, there's a new development happening in the grassroots in this country. And that is, there's this tremendous effort to organize the unorganized, and there's also this tremendous effort to do away with this police brutality that's happening, directed and particularly at black people, or black and brown people in this country. And we have to put a stop to it. Can you imagine how strong we would be if these 2 movements united into one movement? Can you imagine how strong we would be? And lastly, I just want to say that we've been having a fight to save the Berkeley Post Office. And recently, we've been going almost 3 years now to save the Berkeley Post Office. We've had occupations. We had a 33-day occupation a year and a half ago, and now there's a 6-month-long occupation of the post office 24/7. There's been a legislation by the city of Berkeley, and the entire city of Berkeley government stands in favor of keeping the post office. And recently, a judge ruled that the post office, if they decide to sell it, if they decide, which they've said they wanted to do, if they decide to move the services, the window services, they have to give us 42 days notice. That's 6 weeks to organize another suit or whatever we'll be doing. So all I can say is we want to spread this across the country. We want to see every endangered post office. You know, in San Francisco, there were 4 post offices that were threatened with closure in 2010. And there were tremendous demonstrations, and the hearings were packed, and there was an occupation of the Civic Center post office. And at the end of it all, the post office said they're not going to close them. So struggle pays off, sisters and brothers. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out here today to stand in solidarity with the American Postal Workers Union. And thank you for Living Wage Coalition and Green Party also to come here, and members of the APWU. Today I want to talk about a terrible tragedy. Recently they posted announcements around 101 Hyde Street on the telephone pole, but they only gave the local 20 days to respond. And if you want to challenge it, they expect you to write a check of over $500. 101 High Street is where all the homeless and the poor people get their mail. It's general delivery. A lot of the poor people cannot afford to pay $50 or more for every 6 months to rent a post office box. I myself get my mail there. That's where I'm registered to vote, and that's the address I use to get all of my benefits from the Department of Social Services. When they get rid of that post office, then where are people going to get their mail if they cannot afford to pay for a post office rental fee? So we must stop them from tearing it down. They want to build a multi-unit complex there, and I'm not sure if it'll be market rate or not, but the planning department has said that they've already issued the PMND. That stands for Preliminary Mitigated Negative Declaration. They don't want an EIR. EIR stands for Environmental Impact Report. They want to just go ahead and demolish that 101 Hyde Street and just build condos or, market rate apartments there. So I urge you to get involved and stop them from doing that, because the poorest of the poor, the most vulnerable of the population of San Francisco, that includes me, they need 101 Hyde Street. Thank you.
Who have, under incredibly rough circumstances, maintained our service in this country, and with understaffing, with the attacks on them, with the privatization, they loyally and dedicatedly serve the public of the United States, and I want to thank you so much, because home care workers like you as public sector are facing the same kind of starve the beast baloney of making people wait in line, making people not have access to the services that we need. And I applaud you for standing up, for doing this, for fighting for everyone's postal service. It's a mark of civilization to have a postal service. And in country after country, unfortunately, things are being privatized further. And so thank you for standing up. Thank you for standing up for the public service and for your brothers and sisters. Hooray for the fact that there is an effort to get reform in the Postal Service on the board of directors, on the governors. Right now, average people are not represented. The big corporations, the big institutions are represented, and the individual and people who represent working people are not on there. So we've got to keep fighting for that. We've got to keep fighting for full funding for public services so that we don't have to wait forever to be serviced. It's not right. But hooray for those people that face that understaffing and the problems with that every day, and loyally serve and help the public with their postal needs and the service that we have to have. So let's work to get rid of these people that want to privatize the public services and starve them and shut them down, whether it be the Postal Service, whether it be home care, whether it be Medi-Cal, whether it be, across the board with education, etc. That's what we need, and we need a political manifestation. We see in this city a Democratic Party now that's run by the real estate people, that's directed by the billionaires, and the Republican Party don't even mention. I mean, the Democrats are beginning to look like them. We need a party of working people, working politics. That's what we need in this city. Join your working politics club and fight for a city for everyone.
He's not for sale! The U.S. man! He's not for sale!
Hi, my name's Jeff Demagin. I'm president of the San Francisco American Postal Workers Union.
And what are your issues today? Why are you having this rally?
Well, we're having this rally to inform the public of what's going on with their post office. Okay, there's a lot of changes that's being done by postal management. It's basically all bad for the public and for postal workers. They've reduced the hours of the retail station. Used to stay open till 5:30. Now they're closing basically all the post office stations at 4 o'clock. And then there's a sign that says we're closed, go to Staples. Okay, so in addition, what they're doing is they're giving away postal work to non-postal employees. Okay, postal employees, when you're hired, you're sworn to protect the sanctity of the mail. The staple employees are not sworn. They're not trained. They don't have the experience on how to process mail properly. For example, if they get a piece of mail that's open, I don't know what their instructions are, what to do with it. We have standard procedures on basically everything. You get hazardous materials in the mail, we know what to do with it. They don't, okay?
So who's in charge of the post office? Are the Staples and the privatizers in charge of the post office?
It's Staples. Yeah, Staples is in charge of the retail store. The Postal Service gets 5% of whatever net income they make. Okay, that's not enough money to say we're making money off Staples. The intent here is to destroy the Postal Service, to give away postal jobs to non-postal employees. Okay, and like I said, they've been closing retail stores earlier. Now they intend to consolidate 82 large processing centers nationwide. Okay, they've been exiting supposedly for lack of work. Okay, now how do you say lack of work at the same time you're giving work that exists to Staples and other contract postal units? Okay, so the main intent here of postal management in headquarters in Washington is basically to destroy the Postal Service as we have it right now and privatize it. Okay, I'm sure a lot of the people don't need to be explained what happens when you privatize a universal system. That universal system will no longer exist. You go to one small post office, they'll charge you $5 for the stamp just to deliver across the bridge. Other post offices will say, we don't deliver that far, you know. So privatization is no good. Right now we have a universal system where all you gotta do is put an address, excuse me, and we will deliver it anywhere in the world. Within the United States, okay, first class mail is a standard rate of 48 cents. You know, where else can you mail a piece of letter from one end of the country to another for 48 cents? Okay, so we have a good postal system right now, and postal management in Washington intends to destroy it. And the public needs to be made aware of what's happening because we're getting blamed. I mean, I try to talk to people at protests like this, and they blame it on the postal workers. You guys are lazy, you know, we can't even get our mail. We don't make decisions, it's postal management. Okay, they're opening boxes. You go to some of the stores, they have P.O. boxes, and they're not even staffed by any employee. Okay, you have senior citizens where they receive their Social Security checks in this, you know, units where all they have are P.O. boxes. So if there's something wrong with their check, they don't get it, their box is open, destroyed, they have nobody to talk to. So, you know, this is all bad. We've been trying to get Congress to initiate legislation to put a stop to this. Part of our negotiations right now is to restore the service back to what it was before. Okay, so that's what we're here for. We need to inform the public of what's happening with their post office. This is their post office. We're just workers.
I grew up, my dad was a postal worker all our lives. He was a letter carrier in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he was part of that great national strike in 1970, which changed and improved the conditions for postal workers across this country. And don't you know that that strike started out as a wildcat strike? It was a proposal by a union member in one local, and it spread like fire across this country, where all the unions together in the post office came out for several days. President Nixon tried to get the National Guard to come out to replace the postal workers. They couldn't do it because it was the postal workers that make things run in this country. It's the postal workers who reach every household every day. They provide an important public service in addition to limitations, and all these attempts at privatization, including making the postal workers pay billions of dollars, years, decades ahead of the requirement for their medical care, is trying to sweeten the pot for the corporations that want to buy it at a bargain price from the people of this country. And so, just like the national strike that took place in 1970, it's necessary for the postal workers unions to unite, to try to find a way to overcome the different expiration dates of their contracts, the attempts of the government to divide the postal workers unions, not only from between themselves, but from other unions as well. We're facing an enormous crisis in the United States where labor is increasingly under the attack. Despite all the desires of workers to join a union, everyone knows how almost impossible it is to join without the risk of being fired or other means of repression. But the postal workers are greatly admired by people in this country. They're greatly admired. It's one of the most important organized workforces, respected by the people, and we demand no privatization. We demand that the bosses sit down at the table with the American Postal Workers Union and negotiate a decent contract, unity with the post office.
Not for sale! Not for sale! Fight back! Fight back!